Good morning, mamas. Happy Friday. So glad you came back. Today, or this week, the topic was postpartum anxiety because tomorrow my little baby girl Iris turns a whole year old. First off, I can't believe that. I mean, it has literally gone by so fast. Second off, that means I've been doing this channel for probably, 3 months now? Close to, maybe? Because I started when she was about 9 months old. Crazy. Anywho, we're talking about postpartum anxiety. Now, let me start off by saying I am not a healthcare professional. I am not a professional psychologist. I'm not a pharmacist, any of that stuff. I'm not here to give you statistics and things like that, and different symptoms and yada, yada, yada. I kind of did that on my channel, but today I just want to talk about my postpartum story, postpartum anxiety story, because I think it's very important for mothers, women alike, to share their stories that way, because we tend to think that motherhood looks a certain way, you think a certain way, you feel a certain way, and that means you're a good mom, right? When you have that cookie cutter little pattern. But my, obviously, experience is very, very different from that. Let me start off by saying I miscarried back in 2014. We found out we were pregnant after not even 2 years of marriage, and I was so excited. We were pumped, and I went in for a 12-week appointment and found out that the baby had died at 7 weeks, but the yolk sac was still going, and so I had nausea, my boobs hurt, fatigue. I had all the symptoms, but the baby was dead, and I miscarried a couple days after that. And that was really, really hard, emotionally and everything like that. So fast forward 6 years, we find out in October of 2019 that we are pregnant about, I think it was like 6 weeks or something like that. So, obviously I was nervous, but I was excited at the same time, and and then flash forward, obviously 9 months later, to having Iris. My story starts out, I feel like, very different from how a mother thinks that her story should start out. And I'll say that by, you always hear on Facebook or on social media in general, you never know about love at first sight until you have your baby. And of course, I expected that. I expected to be over the moon. I expected to cry. I expected to have all the feels, all this wonderful bonding time and stuff like that. Well, obviously I was pregnant through the 2020 pandemic, so that was just weird in and of itself. And the birthing experience was different too, because I had my husband in there, and of course it was a C-section. But also knowing that there could be no one else there, people weren't going to come visit, that kind of was weird too in and of itself. But I will say that the minute they brought Iris out and showed her to us, I was excited. I finally saw my baby, and she had adorable red hair, chubby cheeks, chunky thighs. Oh my gosh, guys, my baby was a beautiful newborn. The doctors and nurses legit were like, wow, and she was healthy. She was 9 pounds 6 ounces. Oh my gosh, all her vitals were great, etc., etc. But right from the get-go, I didn't have that love at first sight feeling. I didn't have that bond with Iris like I expected I would, because everyone on social media tells me you will, right? And I can remember my husband being the one to hold her first, because I had a C-section. I was lying down, they were stitching me up. I couldn't hold her, and they didn't put her on my chest either. So he's holding her, he's trying to calm her down because she's screaming her little newborn head off. And I just remember that was weird to me. I thought, oh, I can remember looking at her. I can remember thinking, oh, she's beautiful. Like, wow, that's my baby. But there wasn't that love at first sight bonding feeling that I expected. So that right there made me kind of feel guilty. Then the day goes on, and I'm trying to get her to latch on my breast to get some colostrum. She's not latching right. The nurses are telling me, oh, she's fine, she's eating, but she's not, because she's unlatching. She doesn't have a good latch anyway. Y'all know a good latch when, she's not latching. She keeps unlatching from my boob, screaming her head off, and she just keeps crying. I mean, for the first 3 hours of her life, she just cried, and it was so bad, a nurse literally looked at me and goes, you have that kind of a baby. And I thought, what's that mean? So right then and there, too, fear. What's wrong with my baby? What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Well, then, of course, since she wasn't latching right, and I was bedridden for 12 hours after having a C-section, My husband was like, you know, and there was no lactation specialist to help me out because I knew she wasn't latching. I knew she wasn't eating. So what's the point? I didn't know what I was doing. What's the point? So my husband asked for some formula. So they brought formula and he fed her. So the first 12 hours of her life, Daddy was in control, which is fine. It was wonderful. He was such a blessing. But right there, mom guilt. I thought, well, I should be helping more, right? You know, she's having her witching hour. She's having the newborn black poopies, y'all remember. I should be helping more. You know, I felt guilt right then and there too. Not only did, you know, I didn't have that bond right away, but now I can't really help. I'm lying in bed. I feel like a lazy bum. You know, and oh, that just felt so terrible. Well, then, of course, you know, as the hospital stay went on, I just was not feeling like myself. And remind you, I was pumped full of Pitocin during labor as well, which, you know, not everyone has this reaction to Pitocin, but me and my sister did. I felt weird. I felt off. I didn't feel like myself, to the point where when I did hold Iris, it was like I didn't know what to do. And I didn't have those feelings of, you know, like I expected to. I had miscarried. You know, what was the problem? What was my problem? I should be over the moon to have this baby, right? Well, then as the hospital stay went on, I woke up. I had Iris Friday night. Well, by Monday morning, I wake up and it's my first anxiety attack. I woke up from a terrible dream and I was crying. My chest felt tight. I was, you know, hyperventilating. I couldn't, you know, I was so upset. My husband was dead asleep on the couch. And then the nurse comes in and she's like, let's take your vitals. Let's take your blood pressure to discharge you. And I'm like, So right then and there, my first, you know, anxiety attack woke me up from a dead sleep. Looking back, it was the beginnings probably of postpartum anxiety, and I just didn't realize it. I just thought I was a terrible mom, a selfish mom. That's exactly what I thought I was. And then as the days went on, I was miserable. I didn't, you know, I felt so bad because I should be over the moon about this baby, but I was miserable. Not only was it a huge adjustment, 7 years, Adam and I by ourselves, and now all of a sudden we have this baby. It was just terrifying. What am I going to do? You know, oh my gosh, well, am I overfeeding her? Am I doing this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this right? You have all these questions. And it wasn't just a normal kind of a worry, but, you know, this is great. I didn't like it. I was like, can I give her back to the hospital? This sucks. I hate being a mom. This is what it's like being a mom. I hate this. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I had those thoughts for a long time, to the fact that, I mean, if someone was like, take her, just take her. And of course that increased those feelings of just a terrible mother, guys. I felt horrible because there were little glimpses of hope. There were glimpses of, oh, Iris, I love you. Oh my gosh, my baby. But then it was overcrowded by these terrible fogs that would come over me. And it was horrible. And of course, as time went on, I did around 8 to 10 weeks old. She was about 8 through 10 weeks old. It was magical. I literally was like, I'm finally bonding with my baby. Oh my gosh, you know, we were having fun throughout the day. Of course, I'd put her down for naps, or I'd hold her, you know, whatever. It was great. We were just having fun and going on walks and enjoying the sunshine. It was perfect. And then a little after 10 weeks, the fog came back, and it came back with a vengeance, you guys. It was terrible. Oh my goodness, I dreaded every day. I dreaded being around my baby. I didn't want to be around her. I knew I loved her, but it was still like, it's like I couldn't control this feeling of, And not only that, obviously, as you know, after 10 weeks, developmental issues happen, and sleep can be a problem. Short naps, sometimes night wakings, things like that, which brings sleep deprivation, which makes it even worse. So here I was having postpartum anxiety, already feeling like a terrible mother, and then my baby is going through natural developmental progressions, I should say, not issues, but progression. She's growing, getting bigger. That's great. That's a good thing. But in my mind, I was panicked. I was so tired. I wanted sleep, and there were times I had to hold her and rock her, you know, to go to sleep, in which before it wasn't a problem. But then all of a sudden it became, this is a problem. I can't do this. Oh my gosh. Oh. And then your mind starts to spiral. And that's what postpartum anxiety was for me. My mind would spiral. And then it got to the point where I'd have rage. I'd get so mad. You know, if I put her in the crib and she woke up after, 45 minutes, I would start to hit things and throw things. Oh, I'd get so upset. I would start to like I'd scream into my pillow over the silliest of things. I'd been around babies long enough to know that short naps happens. They wake up, whatever. You know, us as adults, we have bad night's sleep, right? I knew enough to know that going into it. But the postpartum anxiety completely alters how you view and how you think of things. So it was getting really, really bad, but I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want to talk to my doctor. I didn't want to take medication. What if they take my baby away? What if they think I'm a terrible mother? I wasn't hurting Iris by any means, nor was I having negative, hurtful thoughts of, I wanted to hurt her. I didn't have that. It was all about me. I wanted to hurt myself. I didn't want to be alive anymore. I just didn't. If you guys know me personally, you know I'm a perky person, like to the point where I annoy people sometimes. And I didn't want to be alive. I would just sit at my edge of the bed and I would just be like, I don't want to be alive anymore, God. If I fell asleep and woke up, please take me now. That's not me. And it all came to a head. Plus I threw my back out when she was 3 months old, which was fabulous. Well, then it all came to a head one day. I was sleep training her. This was around 16 weeks or so. She had been sleeping through the night for quite a while. So we decided, let's go ahead and sleep train her. She's already sleeping through the night. She's on somewhat of a rhythm throughout the day. Let's just go ahead and seal the deal. She could put herself down. I never let her cry it out, things of that nature. But it came to a head that one day she woke up early from a nap. And I just, once again, it triggered my anxiety, my rage. And I was slamming things in my bedroom. I started throwing things. And then I'll never forget, I looked at the monitor, her little baby monitor. And I said, I wish you had never been born. And then as soon as I said that, it's almost like I snapped out of it. And I thought, what? And I knew I had to call the doctor, so I called the ER and I let them know my symptoms. And they said, okay, well, you need to call your family doctor. If you can't get a hold of them, come into the ER right away. We'll figure you out. Well, I called my doctor and they were able to talk to me and evaluate me and everything like that. And I can remember my doctor, and I told my doctor too, and this is, if you have a blessing enough to have a wonderful doctor who listens to you, it's such a blessing. Because I told my doctor, I said, I know that what I'm thinking and feeling isn't normal. I know this is postpartum issues. I said, but please, I said, I don't want to go on any kind of hard drugs, because what if it makes it worse and I actually hurt my baby? I was so scared. I didn't want to hurt Iris at all. I love that baby, but my mind was just in a funk, you guys. Postpartum anxiety is real. And my doctor listened and she said, oh, Megan, and I told her everything that I'd been thinking and feeling and about my rage. And she said, Megan, this is so normal. She said, Iris is barely, 5 months old at this point. She was between 5 or 6 months old. I can't remember. But she was like, she's barely this old. She's like, Megan, your body has to heal. Your body is still coming down from pregnancy and delivery and all these things getting back on track. She said, you are okay. So she prescribed me some as-needed medication because she said, you're seeking out help. You're not too far gone. She said, I'm going to prescribe you some as-needed medication for your anxiety. She said, you can have it by your bed, and if you feel that heart rate start to go up, or if you feel funny throughout the day, or if you can feel an attack or something to start, she said, you can take this medication and it will bring you down, and it will mellow you out. She said, but it is not medicine that you have to take all the time. She said, but I will trust you that you will take it when you need it. She's like, just the fact that you know it's there, she said, I think it will help you out quite a bit. And it did. It helped me out. I never ended up taking the medication, but knowing it was there was a mental thing for me, knowing that if I were to truly need it, I had help and it was okay. Not only did I seek medical attention, but I talked to people. I talked to my friend Kelly Revelette, who was wonderful. She was one of the moms who messaged me right when Iris was born, just a few days after Iris was born, and was like, are you okay? And I was able to tell her, no, I'm not okay. And my big sister Jennifer had even worse anxiety than I did with my nephew Ethan, and she was able to walk me through it and talk me through it. Oh, there were days during Iris's nap, I think she took a 2-hour nap one day. I was just on the phone with Jennifer the whole time because I just needed someone who understood how I felt. I also had a wonderful spouse. He didn't understand what I was going through, and there were days where he was like, what's wrong? But overall, he was so wonderful. There was a week where he said, hey, you know what, this weekend, go visit your sister. Take a weekend off. I'll take care of the baby. You enjoy a weekend off. And I was able to visit Jennifer down in Jeffersonville, and it was a great time. She saw me in some emotional states, but it was so nice to get away. It was so nice not to have that responsibility for just a little bit. And let me tell you what, that trip made a difference, because I came back, and that's when the fog started to lift. It didn't. That was around 4 to 5 months. And then by 6 months old, oh my gosh, it was like the bond was immaculate, you guys. So that is my postpartum story. I probably didn't include everything. There's things that I probably forget. But I just want to let you guys know that when you struggle with postpartum anxiety, you do things and you think things that aren't you. Like I said, I was kind of suicidal, and I've never, ever, ever, never, you know, God has blessed me with this life, and I love it. I've never been that way before. And postpartum anxiety is real. That's all that I can say. It's not fake. It's not attention seeking. It's not. And I want you guys to know that if you guys are struggling with that, if you are struggling with postpartum anxiety, maybe you've been diagnosed, maybe you haven't, maybe you are having all these symptoms, and there's plenty more symptoms where that came from. Just look it up online. You can see all kinds of stuff on postpartum anxiety. But you don't know how to vocalize it, right? Because like with me, I had a miscarriage, and I had people that thought, well, you miscarried a baby. Well, what's your problem? You should be over the moon, right? Guys, we are human, and our bodies, our chemical balances, our brains, everything, it's going to fail. And this is just a process of having a baby. Now, not everyone's going to experience it. Every mom every new mother friend that I have, now that I've experienced postpartum anxiety, days after their baby's born, how are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? The majority of them are fine. They're over the moon. They're happy. And I'm so happy about that. Trust me, I'm not jealous. I'm not butthurt by any means. I'm happy that they're not experiencing what I did. But I always want to make sure to check up on moms. And I encourage you guys to do the same, because motherhood, it can be so stressful. And sometimes mothers think things, feel things, experience things, and they don't know how to project it, because it's so different from what social media and, you know, the perfect life looks like, right? We see these pictures of moms holding their baby right out the womb, and they look wonderful, and they're smiling, and they're happy that their baby's here. That's not, majority of the time, that is not the experience. Majority of the time, it's like mine. Oh, well, I love my baby. She's cute, but I don't have this right off the bat love emotion. Am I a bad mom? No, you're not a bad mom. You are a woman who just went through labor, and your hormones are everywhere. That's exactly what it is. Because let me tell you, it took me months to really bond with Iris. But once I bonded with her, we homies now. We are inseparable. When I had my weekend away, my husband said, hey, go visit your sister. I couldn't wait to get away. Oh my gosh, he told me that on a Wednesday. I could have left right then and never came back, is how I felt. Now, in a couple weeks, I'm going to go probably for another weekend getaway to see my nephew get baptized. I'm dreading it. I mean, I'm excited to see my nephew and have fun, but I'm dreading it because Iris can't come with me. Oh, it's so different. Night and day difference. And guys, may that encourage you to let you know that postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, postpartum issues end. Whether it's on their own, if you have a mild enough case and you can maybe go to counseling or talk to a friend and do breathing techniques, meditation, whatever it might be, getting into the word, it'll go away. Maybe it's more severe and you have to take medication. I know a woman who's like that, and then you can wean yourself off of it as you begin to get better. And now she's medication free and she's fine. It will end. There's so much hope, you guys, and you're not a terrible mother for experiencing anxiety. I wasn't a terrible mother for experiencing the things I did. I was not. It's hard to believe that, because you think every perfect mother just has to adore their children 24/7, adore every day of it, right? But that's not the case. You don't adore every day without kids. You're not going to adore every day with kids. You don't adore every day without being married. You're not going to adore every day being married. It's just not practical. But you're still a good mother, even on those hard days, even through those postpartum days. And I love you guys very much. And if you guys are experiencing any postpartum issues, know you can reach out to me and talk to me. I'll also try and link, or not link, but I'll put a number to postpartum help hotlines. If you can't call your doctor, or if maybe the ER, you can't call them, you can call this number too, because it's very important to seek help. It's so important, because you definitely deserve that help, and so does your family and your baby. But I love you guys very much. That's my postpartum anxiety story. Kind of a long video, 20 minutes, but you know what? It is what it is. Love you guys very much, and I will see you next week.